I'll just listen, and you'll have me muted, or do you want me to mute the phone?
We're live right now. You're good to go. Good morning. You are listening to Money Talk with Melanie this morning. This is your business diva, Melanie Collette. I am so very happy to be with you this morning, broadcasting from the beautiful Alexandria, Virginia, right outside National Harbor in D.C., because we are at CPAC. Very excited about that at the Conservative Political Action Conference. Money Talk with Melanie and the TECM family, the Exceptional Conservative Network, are all at CPAC this week. So very excited about that. It is an absolutely beautiful, gorgeous 50 degrees today. It should be a really nice day. Like I said, we're broadcasting on the Exceptional Conservative Network and SHR Media, and worldwide on High Plains Talk Radio. Thank you, High Plains Talk Radio, for that. Thank you for being with us this morning. Joining us this morning will be Steve Hayes, the chairman and president of fairtax.org. He is going to tell us all about the fair tax movement. Very excited about that conversation. But first, a bit of housekeeping. If you would like to follow me on Twitter, you can follow me at MoneyTalkMel. Follow me there. If you would like to listen to the show via Facebook Live and chat with us there, go to Money Talk with Melanie on Facebook. And if you click on Chat, you'll see like a link that says Chat, and you can go into the chat room. Also, if you'd like to email me, you can email me at moneytalkwithmelanie@gmail.com. Finally, if you would like to join the list of esteemed guests such as Mr. Hayes, and let's see, what's today? Wednesday. On Monday, we had Colonel Rob Maness. We've had former Senator of Colorado, Ted Harvey, Fox News contributor Ebony Williams. If you would like to join this list of esteemed guests, please do go to the Exceptional Conservative Show website at theexceptionalconservativeshow.com. Click on Contact Us and fill out the information there, or call us at 202-660-1329. So, what is going on in the news? Oh my goodness gracious. Well, Homeland Security Secretary John Kelly signed a new guidelines empowering federal authorities to more aggressively detain and deport illegal immigrants. Fantastic. I'm all for that. Of course, immigrant rights advocates are like flipping out, but that's what they do. Their specialty is flipping out over anything, that suggests that illegal immigrants should actually follow the law. That's just insanity, crazy talk. Also coming up, we are looking at the budget. Congress is looking at the budget. They need to decide whether or not they're going to keep this sequester, which, if you recall, they told us would never get signed, but they completely underestimated, how I'm trying to use words that you can use on a family show in regard to our former president, Barack Obama, and him signing a sequester. But I can't find any, so I'm going to move on and just say that we need to decide whether or not we're going to keep it. So Congress is working on that. And if they don't keep it, where are they going to get the extra money? Especially with all the other plans that President Trump has with infrastructure spending and tax cuts, etc. We have a few details to work out with the Affordable Care Act, just a little bit. A few things we need to work on, like, a replacement. We're waiting for the second executive order on the travel ban. Take two. I don't know how that's gonna work out, but we're waiting for that to happen. And then finally, we're doing these deportations like we're supposed to be doing them. And of course, people are freaking out because we're following the law, which I find mind blowing. Honestly, I don't quite understand that. Because like we're seriously, legitimately just following law and people are freaking out. I don't really get that, but it is what it is. But that's what Congress is up to. At least that's what they will be up to when they get back from, chilling from another break. Oh wait, I forgot one thing. Earmarks. They're supposed to not be doing earmarks because we're Republicans and we have the House and the Senate and the executive office, and we're supposed to be the anti-earmark party. So we really shouldn't be doing them, and they're talking about doing them, but they're not really earmarks. They're congressionally directed spending, but it really sounds a lot like earmarks to me. So anyway, that's what they are. So we need to think about that. By the way, I realize that there are a lot of policy/financial terms that we use on the show all the time. And I'm thinking, and let me know what you think about this. Tweet me at Money Talk Mel or post on my Facebook page what you think about having a Money Talk Minute explaining some of these things, like what an earmark is and what it means budget-wise and policy-wise. That's just a thought. Think it's worth doing. Under Did You Know? I was doing a little show research this morning, and did you know that the Obama administration, Department of Justice, awarded a group called Life After Hate a $400,000 grant, by the way, that was your tax money, to help people not be racist. Not be racist. To de-racify you, basically. To de-racify you. I don't know. I feel like I just kind of, now, I don't know if it's by virtue of the fact that I'm brown or what, but I just kind of am not racist. It's not really all that hard. But apparently it took a $400 grant for some people to do that. What else? Here's your fun fact for the day. The Oscars are coming up, and the swag bag is always, always a featured thing that they talk about during the Oscars, like what's in the swag bag, what kind of cool stuff do they have in there, and in the swag bag this year is a Fitbit for Kegels. Now, I'm not going to explain what Kegels is. If you don't know, I suggest you consult Professor Google, but there's a Fitbit for that. Now, I have a Fitbit, and for those of you who are on Facebook Live can see my Fitbit. I wear it all the time, and it measures such things as my sleep patterns, and I can sync it so that it will sync with an app for my calorie count, and it of course measures my steps, and when I run, it'll measure that, and all kinds of really awesome, cool stuff that it measures. And I could probably think of some other things that I would like it to measure. Kegel count never came up. Just putting that out there. So that's your fun fact for today. And so before we talk about the very not quite as fun topic of taxes, I thought I'd end my editorial with the fact that there's a Fitbit for Kegels and that it's going to be in a swag bag for the Oscars this year. It's a true story. I couldn't help myself. I'm sorry. So when we come back, we're going to talk to Mr. Steve Hayes of fairtax.org about the fair tax movement and what it could mean for us should we get that bill passed. I will see you in a few minutes.
bloviating Zeppelin. He's Bigfooted enough radio shows to last a lifetime, courtesy of Sean, Clint, Ken, and Jersey Joe. Now it's time for him to waddle on his own 2 feet via the glorious SHR Media. Gird thy loins for the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon, coming soon to Ossicles near you. Excelsior. Jersey Joe, the Dreamer, Common Sense. You can catch me every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on SHRmedia.com. That's every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, SHRmedia.com. Late night conservative talk show in America, Sackheads Radio. And listen, there are no people better on the air to give you the best in conservative talk than Sackhead Sean and Sackhead Clint. And we're working on integration papers for a certain other guy who happens to work here too. For those who are tuning in around the world to the best late night conservative talk, Sackheads Radio. Late night conservative talk show in America. And this as well is really large. I'm pretty sure it's the biggest spider I've ever seen. From the war front to the streets of our nation's capital, men of faith, Dr. Michael Jones, the underground professor, and Kenneth McClinton, the exceptional conservative, bring both constitutional gravitas and spiritual perspective on today's issues to the most influential Christian urban talk show, 9:05 p.m. Eastern, Thursdays. It's a new day on a new day, black and red.
Okay, we are back. You are listening to Money Talk with Melanie on the Exceptional Conservative Network. This morning we are talking to Mr. Steve Hayes. He is the chairman and president of fairtax.org. Good morning, Mr. Hayes. How are you this morning, and welcome.
Melanie, thanks. I am doing great, and it was great listening to your introduction there.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that very much. We have so much to talk about this morning with fairtax.org. Your website, by the way, is just so comprehensive, and I encourage all my listeners to check it out. It's fairtax.org, and it has tons of information there. But give us the quick and dirty, if you will, of what the organization is and what it's about.
Absolutely. What we're talking about is something that is really tax reform. It's not the fake reform that is being talked about. And when I say real reform, I'm talking about eliminating the entire income tax, payroll tax system and replacing it with a national retail sales tax. Everybody in 45 states is familiar with what a sales tax does. They live with it all the time. You make a purchase, you pay a tax, we get rid of the personal and corporate income tax, we get rid of Social Security withholding. Effectively, people like you and I and your listeners who are now having to file income tax returns, sometimes business income tax returns, and we have Social Security taken out of our checks. all gone. You get your entire paycheck with no federal deductions. And then you make the decision what you're going to pay in taxes by what you spend. We have a provision in the bill, which I believe is more comprehensive than the income tax by a lot, and that is a provision to exempt the purchases effectively up to the poverty level based on family size. So a family of four would be able to go out and spend about $2,600 a month on anything but on essentials and have no fair tax because the rate on purchases over that is 23%. So we're talking about going back to the way our government was funded through excise taxes before 1913 in the 16th Amendment, and we're talking about a system that puts the power back in the hands of all of us and takes it away from Congress and the bureaucrats and the lobbyists.
Well, once you say take it away from Congress, I'm already liking what you're saying. I already like what you're saying.
Well, if you think about it, right now Congress uses the income tax as a bargaining tool for not only getting donations and getting jobs for people like themselves who can, leave Congress and go make a lot of money lobbying, but also they use it to try to control our behavior. I'll give you an example. And a lot of this is not because there's so much, evil. It's just that it, makes sense in one respect, but they don't look at all the consequences.
Right.
And what I'm talking about is like you take the home mortgage deduction. Now, the home mortgage deduction has been around a while. It is a deduction that allows you, as you know, to deduct the amount of interest you pay on your loan, your home loan, and this allows you to not pay as much income tax. You're not getting anything given to you. You're simply able to give the government less.
Right.
So let's make that very clear.
Exactly.
It's not a gift. It's you clawing back a little bit of what you're paying. But the average family may only save a few $100s a year from the home mortgage deduction because most of them don't pay enough mortgage interest to exceed the standard deduction. $10,000 is not enough difference for them to take it. So most people don't take it. In fact, only 30% of the people in this country itemize, so those are the only ones even eligible to take it. However, what the realtors will tell you, if you eliminate the home mortgage deduction, prices may go down 15%. And they say, this is tragic. Well, in a way it is, because a lot of people's homes are their real assets. But think about that a moment. For the 70% of Americans, many of whom are buying homes but get no benefit from this, that means they're paying 15% more for their homes. And so that $100,000 home, because of this unintended consequence that Congress put in, cost $115,000. Now, over 30 years of financing, that's another $45,000 to $50,000 of cost for the lower income purchaser. It just is an unintended consequence. If you do it with the sales tax, everyone is on the same footing. Prices will adjust accordingly.
Right.
It's only on new goods and on retail services, so used properties will not be subject to it. And you've got a situation here where you're also addressing what I believe is the elephant in the room when they look at tax reform, because many of these people have never had a job other than working for government. Not all of them by a long ways, but many.
Right.
And in their minds, if you can think it, all the rest of us should do it.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, because they just go out and get money off the money trade, which is us.
That's right, and it's like we'll all do it because we're basically being instructed. If you look at some of these interviews recently, obviously anyone who voted for Trump doesn't have enough sense to come in out of the rain, so they have to tell you how to do it.
Right.
But the situation that is really, I think, going to destroy the income tax system is the amount of evasion that is taking place. There's a group, the National Tax Research Committee, studies different types of tax situations, and one of the studies they just did should be, I've seen a part of it, should be completed very shortly, is on income tax evasion. And remember, and this is what I told Paul Ryan, he was saying, Steve, we lower their tax rate and make it simpler, evasion will go down. And I said, well, with all due respect, when people evade the income tax, the federal income tax, they're also evading Social Security, Medicare,
absolutely,
and any state income tax.
How about that?
So, you've got a situation, let's say you were paying 30%, now you're paying 20%, well, you're very happy to be paying less on the money you're reporting, but you're asking that person who's been evading to pay you instead of 0, 20 plus probably 15 because they're probably self-employed,
right?
Plus maybe 5 states, so 40% or 0. And the only way to stop that is to get lots and lots and lots of very highly trained IRS agents who go out and who are very punitive.
Yep.
And unfortunately, the people evading don't have E's on their tax return or on their backs.
Right.
For evader.
Right.
So they're going to go after you and I, Melanie.
The scarlet E.
It's going to be a bloodbath.
You're right. No, you're absolutely right about that.
The study shows, they estimate that this year, 2017, evasion of total federal taxes is going to be $675 billion.
Wow.
And because of the change in the workforce, because when I was growing up, everybody pretty much worked for a company.
Right.
40% of the workforce in the next couple of years, it's already over 35, will be what they call non-traditional workers who either work for several companies or are independent. Those are the people where compliance is the lowest because they're the ones that get the money and then are told, you got to get part of it back. It's not like somebody has taken it before they got it.
Right.
So compliance is supposedly, they estimate, and this, I know you're sitting down, Melanie, but boy, it really hit me.
Oh, wow.
They estimate in the next 10 years, the total amount of evasion will be $9 trillion.
Oh, my word. Goodness gracious.
That means that every American family who's paying their taxes in order to make up for this in just 2017 will have to pay another $5,800 of tax.
And speaking of evading taxes and what's been in the headlines here recently, I was going to ask you about this later, but since you brought up evasion, it kind of fits in. Out in the open, I talked about the Trump deportation order and the travel ban, which of course do have a relationship. And one of the problems that people have with illegal immigration is the federal taxes that are avoided, and then, of course, along with that is the use of services. A lot of times that happens, even though at the same time, illegal immigrants tend to avoid paying federal taxes. How would the fair tax system, such as the one you're proposing, fix something like that?
Well, instead of it being where the employee or the worker is supposed to pay tax, which is, as you correctly pointed out, very, very, very few of those people do.
Mm-hmm.
What you have is a situation where the tax is collected at the point of purchase. Those people who are here illegally are going to make purchases. Well, you've suddenly made it much easier to get not only illegals, but anyone visiting our country to help support the infrastructure, because as they make purchases, just like it is in 165 of our countries around the world, we're the outlier.
Right.
They all have a tax that is imposed when people make retail purchases.
Exactly.
And so therefore, you're trading a system that's broken, that allows an enormous amount of evasion, for a system that makes everybody who makes a purchase pay a tax to help support the federal government. You have a system which says that the prebate, the exemption from the sales tax, the credit, so to speak, is not applicable if you're not a valid resident. So you're going to end up with a situation where immigrants who are here illegally, people who visit, are going to be paying the sales tax, just like you and I. Because here's another thing that's really, I believe, been a myth that Washington and the elites have pushed on us, and that is that somehow or other, by doing a sales tax, you're actually putting a tax on all these very essential things like health care and food and all. And what they ignore, though, is that under the present system, we're taxing consumption, but we're taxing it before consumption. In other words, any tax, I don't care what it is, that takes money out of your and my pocket reduces our ability to consume. So we're taxing consumption with any tax. The question is, when do you tax it? The income payroll tax taxes it before you consume. I mean, you get a net check. The sales tax taxes it at time of consumption. So let's look at the $10 you spend on food. What people are not told, and most of us are not used to the idea, but it's when they think about it, it's really simple. If you're working, Melanie, how much do you have to earn to pay your federal taxes and net $10?
Right.
$12.50, $13, $14, $15, depending on your income tax bracket.
Right.
Whether you're self-employed.
Right.
Because if you're self-employed, you pay 15.3%. If you are an employee, you pay 7.65%.
Right,
so
exactly.
Today, when you go out and buy that $10 or make that $10 purchase at the grocery store, you've had to actually pay a consumption tax of $2 to $3, $4, whatever, depending on your tax bracket. Period. So the sales tax does something that Washington hates, or most in Washington, not all, of course.
Right.
And that is, it puts on the table, on the receipt, the total cost of government that you're paying. Everybody suddenly sees the cost of the federal government. It's not hidden. It's not disguised through withholding. It's not buried in the price of goods.
What?
It's on the table, and this is very frightening.
Well, isn't this the transparency we've been promised?
So now it's been a shell game.
Right. You're right. But this is the kind of transparency that we're always promised. Well, okay, this is not really the kind. We've been promised some form, but not absolute. But that would be absolute transparency. I mean, ideally,
absolutely.
Well, and it's certainly the kind of transparency that our government demands of us. I mean, it's certainly what they ask us to do.
It is, Yeah, and instead of them asking us to do it, we're demanding that they do it.
And guess what? And we should be. You know, if anyone should be demanding it,
agree.
if anyone should be demanding it, it's us. We're giving the money to them and hoping that they're going to be good stewards of our money. And it really is just a hope and nothing more. Than that.
It is. And see, here's the thing, Melanie, that's so appealing to me. And again, all of the things that appeal to me and to others like you and your listeners, and I think the majority of Americans, quite honestly, are things that are not appealing to the elites and the politicians, because now, if you have a sales tax and it's 23%, you can take any federal program and you can calculate what part of that 23% is actually funding that program. You know, all of those studies, one of them you were alluding to, all of those studies add up.
Uh-huh.
And all of those, now honestly, it might be 0.1%, but it's quantifiable. You will know that every time you go to the grocery store, 0.1% of what you paid in tax is going to fund studies on behaviors of whatever, mosquitoes. I don't know. And
shrimp on treadmills?
You know this. Now, you can go to your member of Congress and say, look, I think it's absurd. I think you should eliminate that study and bring my tax down. I don't care if it is 0.1%.
Right?
I don't think it should be.
I'm with you.
And you're going to know whether they do it or not because you'll be able to see it. I mean, this is a nightmare for many people in Congress. A nightmare.
Well,
because
right.
now you don't know what part of your taxes that you paid go anywhere.
Yeah, and anyone who's had any kind of, accounting, economics 101, your basic accounting class knows how ambiguous to be charitable Congress's accounting practices are. I mean, they certainly don't hold themselves to the same accounting standards that they hold the public to.
No, and the reason is they're scared to death to do that.
Oh, absolutely. Because if we knew how they really spent our money, dollar for dollar, we'd freak out.
Well, that is exactly the biggest impediment in Congress to getting this done, is that it is too much transparency. But also, now they can go into the halls of Washington and they can come up with a special carve-out benefit for, an importer, let's say. That doesn't apply to anybody else. And that importer, of course, makes generous payments to the lobbyists. They buy, seats at dinners. They do all these different things, and they get a very generous benefit. And unless you or I were really delving into every single tax motion or bill and all, we'd never see it. But if they want to do something for a company with a fair tax, it's going to be very obvious to everybody that Coca-Cola is not taxed, but Pepsi is. Why is that?
Because of the lawmakers that they're in bed with?
Because people are going to get upset. In California, there was a point in time back in the 90s where California decided that when you go to a convenience store, that if you buy a can of peanuts, since food was not subject to sales tax, that if you were going to consume it before you got home, it was a snack, and that would be subject to sales tax. But if you weren't going to use it until you got that can of peanuts home and use it for your meal, then it's food. It's not subject. Well, California sales tax even then was 7.5%, 8%.
Whoa!
So it was called the Twinkie tax because there were actually fights,
Oh, my
between
word.
people buying Twinkies. They said, "No, I'm taking it home for my kids." This was the story. I think it was the L.A. Times. I'm taking it home for my kids so they can have it as their dessert. No, it's a snack, so you're paying tax on it.
Oh, good Lord.
And this was where you were asking clerks to adjudicate whether or not Melanie was buying it for her children, for dinner, or to give them in the car as they left.
I can't believe that that lawmakers came up with, bureaucrats came up with such an illogical, unreasonable, untenable a bill. I'm floored by that, just completely shocked, and yes, this is sarcasm.
And what happened, though, was because everybody saw it, there was such an uproar and so much ridicule that immediately got repealed.
Of course it did. Of course it did. We're up against the
problem that they have with the sales tax is anything like that they try to do to control us.
Right.
Hey, we're all going to see it.
Absolutely. Oops, absolutely. We're up against the break, but when we come back, we are going to talk more with Mr. Steve Hayes about the fair tax. We're having a very enlightening discussion. I hope you all are finding it enlightening as well about the fair tax and why we don't have a fair tax right now, what we can do about it. We'll be back in a few minutes.
Donovan Larkins, pastor of Spirit of Life Christian Center in Dayton, Ohio. But I'm also the director of Shekinah Ranch and the Shekinah Ranch Protecting Innocence campaign. And today I want to just share with you some of our materials that we've developed so that you too can be part of promoting prevention, education, and safety awareness to youth. We have now our Protecting Innocence t-shirt. It's a powerful marquee or billboard that you can purchase and wear yourself that brings awareness that children need advocacy. It's a powerful, powerful piece. It's simply a picture of that with this marquee here with some additional wording on it, and you will want to be a part of that. We have posters that any of you pastors or any of you community centers, you may want to obtain some of these posters and post in the recreation center. It would be great to post this in the foyer of your church. It would be awesome for you to post this throughout the schools of your community. Involvement is what's necessary. Involvement is what makes a difference. We know that in order for evil to triumph, all that is necessary is for good men and women to do nothing. And then we have these little marquees. You can order 100 of them, you can order 50 of them, and you can pass them around to your family. You can pass them around at a family event or a local event that you're going to be at a festival or something. These are very handy, they're very cost efficient, and they make a powerful statement. They really make an impact. And then we have our Protecting Innocence ribbon. And in this package, it's not only just the ribbon, but it also has a message, a safety awareness message, actually a tip. And the tip encourages parents to exercise scrutiny with the relationships that your children are involved with. Today, we see more and more children being victimized by teachers, by coaches, and by other people, other supposedly trusted individuals. And we have to prepare our children if we plan for them to be safe. And then you will want to be involved with the overall Protecting Innocence campaign, because we're making plans right now to build a retreat recovery center on our 150-acre campus where Shekinah Ranch is housed. And you can get this brochure. We can email it to you. That way there's no cost associated with it, so that you can learn how you can join our Protecting Innocence teams. We are communicating with people globally, all over the world, that are interested in how together we can protect children from dirty, evil child molesters. We love to have you on board. We need your support. We want your prayers, and we welcome your financial contributions. Again, I'm Donovan Larkins, Shekinah Ranch Protecting Innocence Campaign. And by the way, camps are coming. So call us so that you can register your child at 937-422-6029. We'll see you later.
You are listening to the Exceptional Conservative Network. For more information, go to www.theexceptionalconservative.com.
Okay, good morning. We are back. You are listening to Money Talk with Melanie on the Exceptional Conservative Network via SHR Media and worldwide on High Plains Talk Radio. We have as our guest this morning Mr. Steve Hayes from fairtax.org, and we are discussing fair tax as a tax system as opposed to the tax system that we have now. I think with all the partisanship and the divisions that we have in the country right now, one thing that most of us agree on is that we are not happy with our tax system. And so there are many tax proposals out there, and the fair tax movement has one of the more popular ones. And that's why we're talking to Steve Hayes this morning about that. I had another question for you, Mr. Hayes, because another popular mantra, especially on the left, is that the rich don't pay their fair share. So, so under the fair tax system, under the bill that's being proposed, I wanted to ask you: do the rich pay more? Do they pay their fair share? Do they pay less? How does that work under the fair tax system?
Well, what you've got to look at is, do you feel that when the wealthy go to a department store, do they go to Nordstrom or do they go to J.C. Penney?
Right. I'm going to say probably Nordstrom.
Okay. Probably Nordstrom, okay? They probably, or have their shopper go. I don't even know if they go.
Right. They're a pair, their shopper.
Yeah. And so the price they're going to pay for that shirt that I might pay, $15 or $20 for, maybe $150.
Yep.
They're going to pay more sales tax than I did because it's based on the price. It's it's the same percentage, but it's based on the price. Plus, if I'm making $50,000 a year and I've got a family of four, I'm only paying the sales tax on the $16,000 above the exempt amount.
Right.
So my effective rate is maybe 8 or 9% on the whole $50,000. You see what I'm saying?
I do.
Right now, I'm having 7.65% taken out in Social Security if I'm an employee.
Right.
Plus, I am also in a situation where, do you think anybody really doesn't believe that costs are passed along by corporations in the price of goods? Their taxes is one of their costs. The Social Security they have to pay on their employees is one of their costs. We have a lot of research showing that prices are going to come down anywhere from 10 to 20%. Depends on the item, how much labor is involved and all. When this fair tax goes in, because competition will do it. Not everybody, but all the goods that have the most competition are going to be reduced in price.
Right.
So what you have is a boon for people making lower income. I doubt the wealthy are going to start shopping at Walmart, but even if they do, they're going to be paying the same percentage of sales tax that we do. And quite honestly, most of the wealthy, the really wealthy, have set it up in such a way that they pay very little income tax, if any.
Right. Yep. I mean, you're right.
So by doing this, we're saying that when you buy that $2 million home that you had built on the golf course, or $5 million, or, I mean, gosh, in the Wall Street Journal, I saw a $100 million home. But whatever.
Wow.
You're going to be paying the sales tax if you buy that new home. So it's all proportionate, and it's part of this idea that somehow or other, and it's really a Marxist idea, that people who should pay more if they make more. Well, in the sales fair tax, they do pay more because they pay based on their purchase.
There you go.
But everyone is treated the same.
Right.
And it's not, in my mind, good to be blaming somebody else for your problem unless it really is their situation that caused it.
Well,
and in this case, somebody who's making more money, in almost every case, didn't cause me to make less.
Well, listen, I, of course, being a conservative, agree with you 100%, but there are all these movements that say otherwise, that I completely disagree with. I'm with you on that. They're systemic, and it's about power, and it's about color, and it's about, stop it. And it's like, maybe if you spent less time whining and more time grinding, you would
Well, and there are situations where people are abused. There's no question about that.
Of course.
There are those situations, but it's not every single person. So don't pick out groups of people to throw stones at. Find the right target if you're going to throw a stone.
And it's not every single day, and it's not every single person that you meet. Listen, I'm a brown woman who's a professional. Of course, I've met with issues from time to time. But for every issue that I've met with, I can guarantee you that it's been an advantage in other situations. So, the universe, I believe, has ways of balancing itself out. So, you have to do what you can on your own to mitigate that damage. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, yes, because otherwise you're just a victim, and you're not going to do any better. You're just going to sit there and put your attention on how you're hurt and not do things. On the other hand, there are situations where people just take advantage of other people, and that's not right, but it's the way it is. It's something we have to do it. There are people, like you said, who have been bigoted towards you or have said things that you find objectionable, let's say it that way, or acted in a certain way.
Sure.
But like you said, rather than say, oh, I'm going to spend all my time looking at that, you decided to do something about it. Well, the fair tax is sort of the same way. I used to do tax work. I was a tax lawyer. And I used to complain all the time about what I considered to be the total inconsistency of audits. I have clients audit on the exact same issue and maybe get 3 totally wildly different results.
Oh, see, that would drive me insane. Yeah.
Of what they found, because the IRS code is so complicated, it is so goofy in terms of the way it's written, that nobody understands it. And so I can say it's white, you can say it's blue, and she can say it's red, and neither one of us are necessarily wrong. We can find evidence of what we're saying in the tax code. So that leads to a huge amount of uncertainty. And that actually is what, was one of the biggest complaints I had about the income tax at the time, was that it was impossible to predict an outcome. And so many audits they came in and these these auditors, and they'd even admit it, they would assess taxes not so much based on what you actually owed, but on what you would pay without challenging them, because it'd be too expensive to challenge them.
Wow.
So basically it was legalized extortion. And that just absolutely drove me up the wall, so to speak.
And the public knows that. The public, you know, caught on to that. You know, I think so. I think, well, it's like you get that notice in the mail that you owe $1,200 in taxes. And you look at it and you say, okay, I don't think it's true, but for me to fight this, it's probably going to require me to get somebody to help me. It's going to cost me almost to $1,200, and I may still not be able to win. So you pay it. Yep. There you go.
And that, to me, is just insanity, and it's improper, and it is destroying our faith in the government as much as anything, and that's why evasion is skyrocketing. I mean, Melanie, how many times do you see opportunities to get services at a big discount for cash?
Right.
And you get these people, and they will admit openly, you know, I'm not going to do it for any other reason, that if I do it this way, I don't have to report it.
Yep, and they will. And they absolutely will. Well, we have to bring the show to a close, but before we do, I want to make sure that I get this in. If anyone wants to join with you and your organization in the fair tax movement, how do they do so? How do they get in touch with you?
Go to fairtax.org. You can join us by saying, you know, you can contribute. You can ask to be on our newsletter. We've got another website, Big Solution, BIGsolution.org, that also is set up, but it's set up more for people to become active with their membership. In the next week, we're going to have, I hope, maybe 2 weeks, we're going to have access to that evasion report that I was referring to. It'd be wonderful if people got it and made it a priority to get it on the desk of their members in Congress and demand what they're going to do about it, and ask them if they're planning on sending legions of IRS people to audit them.
Wow.
We need to get this addressed. We have a way to go that works. We need to do it.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Mr. Hayes, for being on the show this morning. I really appreciate all of your information. Excellent information for my audience, all of us as taxpayers. I look forward to talking with you again soon, before the tax season is out.
I look forward to it, Melanie. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
All right. Bye-bye. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening this morning. You were listening to Money Talk with Melanie. Thank you for everyone in the chat. On Friday, we will have a $1 million publicity expert, Sharon Bolt, on. So that should be an interesting conversation. Also, listen to the rest of us on the Exceptional Conservative Network. As we are at CPAC, we plan on being on Media Row tomorrow, Friday, and Saturday, but we will keep you posted. Go to the Exceptional Conservative show.com for updates. Remember, this is all very important because it is your money.